In this video, we are going to talk about the 5 finest parody films that put the original to the test. So before starting this video, like this video and subscribe to our channel for future updates. Creating a film that is both funny and original can be a challenge. It is of the utmost importance to get it right. The jokes need to land without appearing to be forced or cheap. The movie needs to be amusing enough to stand on its own 2 feet, and the timing needs to be correct. Because we have seen so many of these movies over the years, we are aware of which ones stand out and which ones are certain to fail. In the midst of the stinkers, you'll frequently find a treasure that's as exceptional as they come. There's nothing quite like the original, and these comedic spoofs never fail to hit the mark. Despite the fact that some people have gone on to build their own successful franchises. Number 5, Not Another Teen Movie, 2001. The basis of filmmaking from the 1980s to the early 2000s was laid by coming-of-age teen romance comedies and dramas. There is a quirky charm to the likes of cult classics Cruel Intentions, Varsity Blues, and She's All That cannot be ignored. There always seems to be a fundamentally life-changing undertone that threads through the narrative, and we clutch onto them as if our lives depend on it. Films of all varieties would all toss their names into the hat before pulling out a winner. However, there is nothing that appeals to us more than seeing our favorite teen stereotypes merged into one, and Not Another Teen Movie provides the gift that keeps on giving in this regard. If there's one thing that can be gleaned from this spoof, it's that Chris Evans and comedy go together like a glass of wine and a plate of cheese at a fancy restaurant. Not Another Teen Movie is constantly finding new ways to acknowledge this, even going to the lengths of putting on a wacky, albeit catchy musical number. The stereotypes are spot on, and the cast plays into them with ease. Nothing really makes sense in the kind of movies they are setting out to mock. Not Another Teen Movie is constantly finding fresh ways to acknowledge this. The fact that it does not hold back when mocking tired tropes is one of the reasons why this movie is so entertaining to watch. It is actually funny, something that is amplified by the on-the-nose humor that is used throughout. There are many gags that work without a hitch. Number 4, Scary Movie, 2000. In order to make fun of a movie that is already regarded as a parody of the horror genre, the creators of Scary Movie take a daring approach. Scary Movie is the first movie ever made to make fun of itself. Scream is a meta take on the traditional norms of the horror genre. Yet it still manages to perfectly balance itself up with a tense and frightening plot. The concept behind Scream works because it doesn't travel too far from reality, which is why the film is successful. The movie plays on the macabre authenticity of a fixation that has gone to extremes, and it causes you to second-guess whether or not you should pick up the phone. This slasher comedy from the year 2000, on the other hand, does not raise the same reservations. In fact, it urges you to interact with the mystery caller, if for no other reason than to cry out the iconic line, "Wazza's up?" The Scary Movie franchise has more than enough material to eliminate the scare factor from any horror it chooses to focus on, but the original picture is unparalleled when it comes to the coarse humor it contains. The plots of 2 popular movies from the 1990s, Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer, are combined in the film Scary Movie, which guarantees that you will never view any of those movies in the same way again. Number 3, Hot Shots, 1991. There is no denying that Top Gun is a spoof script stream, for all the joy that it continues to give us. Whether that's through karaoke, epic dogfights, the phenomenon that is the volleyball montage, or Tom Cruise donning the aviators, Top Gun is extremely cheesy, despite the fact that it is a quintessential 80s classic. There is no denying that Top Gun is a dream for a spoof script. We're not saying that's a bad thing. But with the jokes written for them, Top Gun literally writes its own death sentence and continues on its way, and Hot Shots is eager to take the bait. We're not saying that's a terrible thing, though. The Naked Gun film franchise is known for its comedic antics, and one of the most memorable of these is Hot Shots, which stars Charlie Sheen and Cary Elwes. It is, without a doubt, a worthy parody. The slapstick comedy from 1991 never fails to deliver the laughs. Thanks to its abundance of gags and slapstick amusement. It is completely absurd, and while Sheen and Elwes are at the center of the hilarity, Lloyd Bridges is the one who absolutely steals the whole show. This is one of the best parody movies that has ever been made, and it is arguably one of the best ever made. Despite the fact that physical comedy isn't always a simple prank to pull off, Hot Shots makes it look like nothing more than a stroll in the park. Number 2, Spaceballs, 1987. When one considers the legacy that Star Wars continues to leave in its wake, one may believe that the franchise is unbeatable. The very first journey into a galaxy far, far away began in 1977. And it has only recently been honored for having been on the road for 45 years. Star Wars is the kind of cinematic universe that most lovers of science fiction desire to be connected with at some point or another. In 1987, Mel Brooks gave his perspective on the original trilogy, which added a well-seasoned touch of humor, and he got his 2 cents in. In Spaceballs, Darth Vader's famous line is expanded upon by using a whole encyclopedia's worth of references that went on to become well-loved in popular culture. Brooks is a comedic genius and arguably the most successful comedian of all time. The movie Spaceballs is very funny because it makes fun of several of the most iconic films in cinema history, such as Alien, Star Trek, and Planet of the Apes. John Candy and Bill Pullman play off one another to perfection as the roguish heroes, whereas Rick Moranis' Dark Helmet and George Weiner's Colonel Sanders thrive on delivering the most simplistic jokes without an ounce of common sense between them. The cast does a fantastic job in their respective roles. Number 1, Galaxy Quest, 1999. In the same way that Star Wars is a commodity inside the science fiction genre, Star Trek is as well. There is a lot of information to glean, spanning from television to movies, and occurring over the course of 60 years. Galaxy Quest is released at a time when parody movies are making a comeback into the mainstream, but it distinguishes itself from its rivals by making lighthearted digs at the Star Trek franchise and by paying homage to the extensive and widespread fan base that the series has garnered. This is the best possible way to pay homage to the style. In spite of its comedic elements, the narrative actually contains a great deal of sentiment at its core. It acknowledges the origin of each of its humor. The cast is outstanding and in sync with one another. Alan Rickman is nothing short of amazing as the one serious actor who finds himself swept up in the success of the Dramatize television series. Galaxy Quest is one of those games that never gets old and should be played again anytime the chance presents itself. What do you think about this video? Do let us know in the comments section below. If you want to hear from us again, make sure to hit that subscribe button before you go.